All right, good afternoon, YouTube. We're going to go over Taoism now. My last video was on the basic elements of traditional Chinese beliefs, which leads us into Taoism and Confucianism. This video is going to be on Taoism. All right. Taoism. You may often see it spelled with a T, Taoism, but it is pronounced Taoism, all right? The origins of Taoism are mysterious, okay? Its earliest documents contain many threads. Shamanism, which is appreciation for the hermit's life. Oh, let me change that, okay? Its earliest documents contain many threads. The many threads that it contains are shamanism, appreciation for the hermit's life, desire for unity with nature, fascination with health, long life, breathing, meditation, and trance. Okay, these come from multiple sources, which kind of came together to produce this movement that we have called Taoism. Okay. Now, it says every movement needs a founder, all right? Of course, we know that as we've done this study, not every religious movement can be traced back to a founder, Hinduism for one, all right? So, but the founder of Taoism, or it has been attributed to a legendary figure, a man by the name of Lao Tzu, L-A-O, capital L-A-O, capital T-Z-U. His name means old master or old child. Did he exist? It's not known. Did he really exist? Like I said about many of the other founders and religious figures that we find, there is no solid proof that any of these figures existed, okay? Any of these people actually existed, okay? It could have been a real person, could have been a blending, okay, of historical information about several figures, or a mythic creation. Okay, and we are going to find that that's the same thing with Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha. We will find that in Islam. Of course, we find that in Christianity. We find it in Judaism. All right, let's continue on. His birth, the traditional story, okay? His birth was around 600 BCE, before Christian era. And how did his birth come about? What was it? It was the result of a virginal conception. Now, where have we heard that before? Okay, story of Jesus, a virginal conception. Okay, one thing in Buddhism, I know I talked about Siddhartha Gautama being who became known as Buddha. I always say that, all right? Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha. And why do I say that? So it's understood that the Buddha is not a deity, or was not a god, all right, but was a human being who became the Buddha. I like to say who became known as the Buddha, which I'm basically saying that every person can reach Buddhahood, all right? And I already talked about what it actually meant, what a Buddha actually meant, all right? A Buddha is one who has awakened, or the awakened one, or the enlightened one. Okay, or one who has become enlightened, all right? But one thing that I failed to talk about with Buddha, he was supposedly born from his mother's side. I think he was supposed to be conceived something about a white elephant. I'm not sure. I mentioned that when I went over Buddhism. Let me find it real quick. Okay, because I want to show a similarity here. Okay, his mother, the Buddha's mother, her name was Maya. Okay, a little bit of Buddhism here. His mother's name was Maya. We find that with many of these religious figures or founders, the mother's name began with an M, or was some derivative of Mary, for example. All right, so Maya. Okay, Jesus' mother's name was Mary. All right, like you find in, it's so interesting, the Batman and Spider-Man, the mother's name was what? Martha. Okay, this uh, a sound. Okay, and we will go over that. It's gonna be quite a while probably till I get to it. Hopefully, maybe not, because I'm kind of off for the summer. Yesterday was last day of school, but I had to go today for training for summer school, so I'll be doing summer school, so I really won't have as much free time as I thought I was going to, or that I would like. Okay, but what is about this? She dreamed again. Maya, the Buddha's mother, dreamed that a white elephant entered her side. This was the moment of conception of the future Buddha. We find with Jesus, his mother Mary, that she was quote unquote impregnated by a white dove, which is, the white dove is representative of the Holy Spirit. Okay, all right, back to Taoism. Okay, but this figure was born of a virgin. So we're seeing these similarities in these religions, okay, which is leading to something as well. Okay, just haven't gotten to it, and it'll be a minute before I do. According to legend, the child was born old. All right, hence the name Old Child. Now, was he actually born like physically old? There is, I don't know what that I don't know, disease or disability, whatever you want to call it, or condition is called, but where people, I think it's a rare condition, who are actually born with like old, physically old. They look old. Okay, but I don't think that's necessarily what's being said here. It's not specified. Or is it old soul, like how we talk about some children who have an old soul. Okay, it's not really said here, but the legend says that he was born old. Okay, he became a state archivist, or basically a librarian, in the royal city of Loyang for many years. Okay, okay, when we get to Confucianism, we're going to see there was a tie here. It says legendary stories also relate how Confucius, okay, came to discuss philosophy with the old man, with Lao Tzu, okay, or Lao Zi. It's also spelled Laozi. All right. He got tired of his job. He left his post. He was carried by an ox, and he traveled to the far west of China. When he got to the border, the western border, he was recognized as an esteemed scholar, and they would not allow him to cross the border. Okay, when they recognized him, until he had written down his teachings. Okay, the result of what we have, the teachings that he wrote, has come to be known as the Tao Te Ching. I have that book. I'm pulled it out the other night. I pulled out some books. I got a whole lot of books that I had just bought and haven't read, so I pulled out a whole lot of books that I want to read for the summer. Not a whole lot, a few that I need to read, and I pulled out that book. I did on my old channel, I think like one or two videos, I read some things out of the Tao Te Ching. All right, but nevertheless, the Tao Te Ching is a short book of about 5,000 Chinese characters. All right. When he was finished writing the book, he was able to leave. He left China and he traveled westward. Okay. He was said to have taken his teachings to India. Okay. Then he went back to China, and he ascended into the sky. All right. So he didn't die. Okay, he ascended into the sky. We find Jesus ascended into the sky. Which prophet, I'm sure somebody can tell me, was it Elijah or was it Elisha who ascended into the sky? I think Enoch too ascended into the sky. They didn't die, but they just were carried away, into the sky. Okay. He was soon treated as a deity and became what? I don't want to say he became. He was soon treated as a deity. Okay. The human incarnation of the Tao. Like we find that when you hear Christians say, okay, that Jesus was God. Okay. What the religion of Christianity teaches is that Jesus was the human incarnation, okay, of God. Okay. Same thing we have here. Lao Tzu was the human incarnation of the Tao. Now, when you find these similarities, okay, with Christianity, okay, I'm only going by the history that I have in front of me, okay, what's traditionally known, okay, academically. There are some, you will find, what I found that with some people who are aware of this in Christianity, they are so dead set on that Christianity is the way, it's the only way, it's the truth, ain't no other religion out there, that's right, we's the only ones that's right, okay. They will try to say that that these similarities that you find in other religions were that they copied off of Christianity or the story of Jesus or whatever, or that the demons came through, they knew Jesus was going to come, be born, and so the demons came on through and set all this up. You know what I'm saying, however many thousands a year before the birth of Jesus, you understand what I'm saying, to trick folk. If that's what you want to believe, fine. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, okay, and silly. Okay, if you believe your faith to be the one, the only one, blah blah, this, that, and the other, then fine, go with that, and but you don't have to make up no wild, outlandish stories about the demons. They want to trick the world, and then get them, send everybody to hell so they don't believe in Jesus, and we have all these disparities, and they just copied and blah blah blah. No. Okay, if that's what you want to believe, just believe that, but you don't need to do all that. You understand what I'm saying? To prove jack squat. All right, I just think that's silly. But I was going to say any kind of way. Anyway, moving on. Okay. All right. In this capacity, with him being known as a deity now, again, the human incarnation of the Tao, he came to be called what? Lord Lao. Okay, Lao. Okay, many stories were told of his apparitions. Okay, you find that too, all right, in some of these other religions. Okay, he continues to be worshipped as divine by many Taoists. All right, so unlike Buddhism, where the Buddha is not, okay, considered a deity, okay, where he is not worshipped by Buddhists. Please, people. Okay, if you don't believe me or whatever, go talk to a Buddhist. Go actually crack open some books about Buddhism. It's not going to hurt you. For those, if you want to, whatever your faith is, and if you're Christian, if that's what you want to believe, and hold on tight to that, your way is the only way, Jesus is the only way, this, that, and the other, because that's what the book says. Okay, the Bible I'm talking about in the New Testament. He didn't say it was the only way. I don't think that's anywhere in there, but I think it does say, he's the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me, etc., etc. But we'll get to who the Father is, okay? When we get to Judaism, okay? When we get to who God is, okay? In Judaism, okay? Therefore, what? Christianity, all right? All right. Then fine, but no need for you to feel any kind of fear about any other faith or religion or whatever, but ain't no need to lie about it either, okay, because you don't have any real working knowledge of it, okay, or what you was told, or what you want to believe, or the fear-based your fear-based belief system, okay. Maybe you're afraid that if this applies to you, okay, or whoever, people that feel that way, maybe they, afraid that their foundation is going to be, rocked, okay, and, because here's some questions come about, okay, if you don't want to, fine, that's okay, but now there's some knowledge here being shared, okay, and this is nothing new, okay, and nothing that somebody made up just to make, Christianity look bad, okay. I don't have a problem with Christianity. I was born and raised Christian. As a matter of fact, when I did my chaplaincy as a chaplain resident, at Cleveland Clinic, it was a group of us. There was about 8 of us, I think, doing our residency. It was a year-long residency. And me and one other person were like the only ones in the room saying, hey, I'm not Christian. Well, my supervisor, halfway through the year, he was like, Nikki, you're probably more Christian than anybody in the room. Okay. But nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? I mean, these are things that I was raised with. So I do still hold some Christian values and beliefs, I guess. I don't know if beliefs. I don't know. I don't know how to say it, okay? But anyway, now let's get to the Tao Te Ching, okay? The Tao Te Ching is generally seen as one of the world's greatest books, all right? When I first read this, I was surprised, you know. Well, why was I surprised? Because I had never heard of the Tao Te Ching. Like when I did the divination with the I King, I had heard of the I King, that divination, but I had never heard of the Tao Te Ching, okay? So, but at the same time, I was like, well, no need of you being surprised just because you never heard of it. And, well, when did I find this out? I probably was in my late 30s, you know, in your little late 30s and, you know, your little, and I'm not putting it down when I say little, but, you know, the few steps that you have walked this earth, you know, and few places you have been and the few things you have picked up to read and study, okay? Just because you never heard of it doesn't mean that it's not true, okay? Or doesn't mean that necessarily, you know, it's to be questioned in the sense of me saying, well, I doubt that. I ain't never heard. Who cares that you've never heard? There's many things you've never heard, you know, never heard of that are true and real, you know what I'm saying, okay? All right, let's keep going. And I would say that that's probably for a thought that for all of us, you know, just because you never heard of it before, you're not familiar with it, does not mean that, you know, it's not, that's not the case. All right. If you don't know, why would you look into something that you have no idea about? Okay. All right. It's all, and also if you have been made to feel that, especially when it comes to religion, if you have been made to feel that, you know, everything else, every other religion out there, or you've been taught that, or that's a seed that's been planted in your mind, you've been taught that every other religion out there is evil and bad and wrong, you know, then you probably would shy away from it anyway. All right, when something is presented to you, when some kind of other information is presented to you. Right. I'm not talking about the religion in and of itself. Okay. Understand? Okay. All right. Let's keep going. The Tao Te Ching is the great classic of Taoism. Okay. And it's accepted by most Taoists as a central scripture. The title, Tao Te Ching, what is the translation? The classical book about the way and its power. Okay, the classical book about the way and its power. Sometimes the book is also called the Lao Zi, after the author. Okay, because of its, probably because of its brevity and succinctness, it has an enormous influence on Chinese culture. Okay, it's again, this book was written based off of the history that I just read, because, you know, they would not let him, the Lao Tzu, you know, leave China until he wrote down his teachings. All right, not because he was trying to shape nobody's way of thought, and it's got to be this way, you're gonna do what I say, and this is the religion, and this is it, this is the only way, etc., etc., etc. All right, there are 81 chapters of the Tao Te Ching. Okay, there are passages that involve early shamanistic elements, such as reaching trance states and attaining invulnerability. There is some repetition in the book. However, there's no clear order and exhibits a deliberate lack of clarity. Okay. The combination of elements suggests that the book is not the work of a single author, but is rather the assembled work of many people gathered over time. Okay. It may be a collection of what were once oral proverbs and sayings. All right. So even though, like, it's believed that Lao Tzu was the author, okay, I am thinking that what is being suggested here, because there is a combination of elements, it suggests that the book is not the work of a single author. Okay, now when we get into Judaism, for example, the first 5 books of the Bible in the Old Testament, okay, of the final compilation, you know, of the canon that we have, okay, that many of it that you can get in any store, okay, for the most part. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy were written by Moses. However, for theologians, as they study the book, okay, it is kind of clear that one person did not write these 5 books. Okay, why is that clear? Because the story, the stories and whatnot in the books, they're written differently. Okay, so for example, okay, kind of obvious, you have a favorite author, you've read a few of their books, their style of writing. Okay, Stephen King, Stephen King's style of writing. Okay, people have their own personal signature, their own style. Okay, I don't know why this thing is shaking, but it shouldn't be, because I'm not moving. Well, maybe it's just my movement here in the car. All right. Well, anyway, if it's not still, I'm sorry. Okay, but the style of writing, so when another style enters, you realize and recognize, this is different. Who wrote this? Okay, this person. As well as in Deuteronomy, I think it's Deuteronomy, I think so, his death is recorded. Well, kind of hard for a person to record their own death. All right, I know, but somebody will say, well, he must have knew it was coming, so he recorded it, before he died. Okay, no. All right, but let's move on. Okay, what was the original purpose of the book? Okay, there are some theories here. One holds that the overall purpose, okay, besides what I just told you, the history says, okay, the story says, okay, was that it was political, that it was meant to be a handbook for rulers. All right. Some see it as another theory is that it was just seen as a religious guidebook meant to lead adherents to spiritual insight. Another view is that it's a practical guide for living in harmony with the universe. Okay. Maybe the Tao Te Ching filled all these purposes, and that these passages can have several meanings at the same time. Okay. Its meaning depends on who's interpreting it. All right. Throughout the Tao Te Ching are references to the Tao, D-A-O or T-A-O. The book speaks of the Tao's nature and operation. It describes the manner in which people will live if they are in harmony with the Tao. It gives suggestions for experiencing the Tao. It provides images to help describe all of these things. However, what is the Tao? Okay, what exactly is the Tao? Okay. The Tao Te Ching begins by saying the Tao is beyond any description. It states that the Tao can speak, that if the Tao can be spoken of, okay, if you can speak of the Tao, I know what it is. It's this vehicle over the next driveway. It's on and it's vibrating, and interesting. It's vibrating here, like the vibration on the ground is coming to my car. I'm not that far parked from the vehicle, even though in 2 different driveways, because I'm like, why is this phone moving? It may not even look like that to y'all, but I'm looking at it's moving and it's bothering me. Okay, but anyway, if it can be spoken of, if you can give the description of the Tao, then it's not the eternal Tao. Okay, and that's basically kind of like when I was saying in my last video about the deity in Buddhism, that there is no deity, that Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as a Buddha, was saying, it's not about a lack of belief in God. It wasn't necessarily an atheist. It's like, if you can speak of God, then it ain't God, basically. Okay, we're not putting God in no box and saying this is who and what God is. Okay, that is not the focus in Buddhism. The focus, once again, is enlightenment, not about worshiping, enlightenment coming from within, not about worshiping an outside deity. All right, and definitely define your enlightenment. Okay. In other words, we can't put into words exactly what the Tao is. Okay, the book says that the Tao is nameless. It's not any individual thing that has a name, such as a door, a tree, a bird, a person. It cannot be named because it doesn't have any form. But the Tao can be experienced and followed by every individual thing that has a name. Everything that has a name can follow the Tao, but the Tao itself is nameless. The Tao has no form. A door has a form, a tree has a form, a bird and a person, these all have forms, okay? The Tao is eternal. It is without limits. Everything that has a form is limited. It is a limited thing. It is a limited being, okay? Remember, and we find that in Buddhism, and I think and Hinduism and some elements of Buddhism. And remember that China is influenced heavily by Buddhism, even though Buddhism started in India. All right, we are limited beings. Okay, whoever may be why. Okay, in this society, I'm considered a black female, okay, a black woman, all right. Nikki Lewis, Kenyatta Lewis, born here in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, I wasn't born here, but living here in Cleveland, Ohio. Got my experience, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Well, I'm limited in that I can't fully know and understand, okay, I'll just use someone who's very close to me in physical proximity to me. My brother, for example, even though we were raised in the same environment, in the same home, okay, but he is a black male, okay, now he's not a female. He simply is just not me, and I'm just not him. Okay, his experience, his perception, his so on and so forth is I want to say, maybe I can't say completely different from mine, but different from mine. Okay, so therefore he can't, and we can't know the inner workings of one another, okay, and what makes us, what makes us unique, okay, from one another. Okay, same with me, whoever's watching this, you and the next person. Okay, we are limited. I can't know the experiences or feelings of a tree, a bird, so on and so forth. Okay, so we are limited beings. The Tao is not limit. The Tao is without limits. The Tao has no form to put it, in kind of a box, like we talk about our soul being housed. Okay, you hear people say that the soul being inside, of this physical body, whether you want to look at it as imprisoned or however, okay, we cannot know the, we cannot know the, fullness, okay, of existence while we are in this limited state of being, okay, or 3D that we're calling it at this particular time, okay, a three-dimensional reality, okay, which is limiting us. How does that make sense? Even understand that people are talking about, we moving into the fifth dimension, or we've moved into it. Okay, here is another dimension, a higher one, okay, which is opening us up more to, various truths and realities that we could not experience in this 3D, but the totality of it, absolutely not. Okay, all right. The Tao is the origin of everything. Okay. All individual things are manifestations of the Tao. Okay. So once again, the Tao is the origin of everything. Okay. All things originated from the Tao. Okay. And all individual things okay, are manifestations of the Tao. Kind of like when I first started this and I went over the various theism, monotheism, polytheism. Okay, polytheism, for example. All right, I don't know if I went over it in this detail. I hope I did when I went over it. Okay, but for example, you have, polytheism is the existence of many gods, or the belief in the existence of many gods. Okay, where in some forms of polytheistic belief, there is, one main God, and all these other gods are manifestations of this greater. For example, you can use yourself as an example, you in your human form, okay? You could be, in a sense, the one deity, okay? Well, what would be the manifestations of your every part of your body, okay? Your limbs could be called one thing, well, they are, okay? Your hands, your fingers, your arms, okay? Shoulders, chest, eyes, nose, mouth, ears, hair, okay? Legs, so on and so forth, heart, liver, kidney, Okay. Your emotions, okay, your mentality or your mental state of being. Here are other aspects or manifestations of you that make up you, that make you this whole being. Yes, limited in form, but that make you this whole being. This is what's being said here. Okay. All things, all individual things, these things are individual, yet they are manifestations of the greater. Okay, all these things all together make up. Okay, now we hear some of these things nowadays. Okay, these types of ideologies, and people are calling it New Age. This is not New Age things. A lot of the stuff they're calling New Age, and I'm spiritual and all that kind of stuff, are various elements of various. I mean, are elements of various religions. Okay, of different parts of the world, of the past, so on and so forth. Not New Age. All right. Although the Tao, and what that mean anyway, New Age, but moving on. Although the Tao is the origin of nature. Now, everything that I said sounds like God, right? However, from the Taoist perspective, although the Tao is the origin of nature, it is not God. Okay, it is not God. Why isn't it God from the Taoist perspective? Because it doesn't have a personality. And don't we give God a personality? Or doesn't God seem to have a personality? Okay. So example, I just use the Bible, biblical, really any deity. You can look at any deity, but I'll use the biblical God, for example. Okay, that God has a personality. Okay, it has a gender. I'm not telling you, I'm just telling you from the perspective of those who have interpreted that book. Okay, it has a gender. Okay, that God is referred to as male. Okay, he. Okay, we definitely, if you read it, you read the word, he's definitely got a personality. Okay, even though in one part of the book it says no man has seen the face of God, but then it tells us that Moses did. Okay, there was form, that God has a form. Okay, you see pictures of various deities. There is a form to these various deities. Okay, the Tao, there is no form. Okay, doesn't look like this. Ain't no particular color, size, weight, none of that. There's no form. The Tao neither cares about human beings nor dislikes them. It only produces them along with the rest of nature. I forget what that's called. Y'all bear with me for example. Not for example, for a minute. If I can find it. Hold on, please. Let me see. Oh, I don't see it. I don't want to take a whole lot of time looking for it. I believe it starts with a P. Oh, well, whatever. Excuse me. Man, I cannot think of the name of that. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Look, as soon as I hit the pause button, it hit me. I was gonna call my daughter and ask her because we were talking about it one day. Deism. Okay, deism is the belief in existence of a supreme being, okay, specifically of a creator who does not intervene in the universe. Okay, deism. All right, so this would be kind of like deism. All right, fall under that category. It neither cares, once again, doesn't care about human beings. Does the God that we, that we are familiar with here in the West care about human beings? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Does the biblical God care about human beings? Yeah. Okay. But Tao don't care about, doesn't care about them, but doesn't dislike them necessarily. I guess you would just say, just neutral, whatever. They're a manifestation of the, and I don't even say of me in terms of how the Tao would speak. The Tao would not speak, even. Okay, human beings are just a manifestation of the Tao. It only produces human beings, just like everything else. All individual things are just, again, manifestations of the Tao. Okay, the Tao, but the Tao makes nature move the way it does. Okay, and because it makes nature move the way it does, and remember, when we talk about nature, especially when we're talking about, these religions from out of the East, human beings are part of nature. Okay, human beings are not separate from nature. Human beings are nature as well. Okay, we're just a part of it, not better than it, not less than it, not separate from it. Okay, we are simply a part of it. Okay, so we also move a certain way. Nature, everything moves a particular way. Okay, now we might try to fight it. Okay, but we move a particular way. All right, and because the Tao makes nature move the way that it does, I would think that this is how the Tao moves as well, since all things are manifestations of the Tao. The Tao can be called the way, okay, or the rhythm of nature. Okay, it is the way. That is what the Tao means, the way. Okay, how things move, how nature moves. Okay, or even the movement of nature. All right. Now, how do we experience the Tao? To experience the Tao, we must leave behind our desires for individual things. Okay, this is interesting here. Okay, and we find that, like you find that in Buddhism. Remember, how do we get rid of suffering? Okay, you leave them desires alone. Period. I won't. I got to have me. I desire it. Okay, which according to Buddhism, it's not something. These desires cannot be quenched. Or you get what you desire, and then you want more, constantly, leading to suffering. Okay, we're talking about religions of the East. Okay, these religions have everything to do with how what we find in these cultural things. All right, not that this culture, this culture. Hold on, please. Okay, let's get back into it here. We were talking about how to experience the Tao. Okay, or to experience the Tao, we must leave our desires behind once again for individual things. All right, this runs counter to everyday concerns. How much something costs, what time is it now, whether something is big or small, etc., etc. The Tao way of seeing things is so odd to some people that at first it seems like trying to see in the dark, right? As the end of the first chapter of the Tao Te Ching describes, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. The Taoist sees things differently. All right. Here's an illustration from the 20th chapter of the Tao Te Ching. A Taoist is describing a group of people who are in a park celebrating a holiday. They all seem happy as they climb up to the top of a terrace where a ceremony will occur. They appear to know what they are doing and where they are going, not the Taoist. The Taoist feels formless and like the ocean, adrift. The Taoist is troubled by this contrast. The others seem happy and sure of themselves, but the Taoist can only watch and feel strangely like an outsider. The chapter ends with a sudden, extraordinary affirmation. The Taoist recognizes something intensely personal and difficult but willingly accepts the sense of separateness from the others and from their conventional way of seeing things, the Taoist accepts and concludes. What does the Taoist accept and conclude based off of all this? What? I am different. I am nourished by the Great Mother. Okay. This was his conclusion as to why, he felt different and, changed his perception of things, basically. All right. I'm different. I just accepted it. I ain't like them. You understand what I'm saying? All right. And I'm nourished. Okay. Here by the Great Mother. Thus, the Taoist cannot be known in the same way that we see a car or hear a sound, for example. Remember, the Taoist felt formless. Didn't say he was, I said he felt formless. Okay? And like the ocean adrift, the Tao without form. All right? Now, I don't fit in to this group. Okay, they seem so sure of themselves. They seem, many of the times we have felt like that. You'll go to a party or a group of people, maybe wherever at a job or whatever the case may be on campus. Okay, and we call it feeling insecure. Okay, so basically the Taoist felt insecure, but then he realized, wait a minute. Okay, in other words, I don't need to be like them or feel like them, however they feel. Okay, or be a part of that collective. Okay. Why? Because I'm different, yet I am nourished by the Great Mother. I'm all right, just as I am. Okay. The Tao cannot be known, once again, in the same way we see a car or hear a sound. It cannot be perceived directly, but rather by intuition. The Tao can be perceived, not known, but perceived, okay, by intuition. Okay. We talk about nature. Okay, like sometimes when I do my walks and or when I do my long walk on the weekends, and I post it sometimes. Okay, and I've said in it, we need to get out the house. You can't just stay in the house all the time. You got to get out in nature. Got to get out amongst who and what you are. You are nature as well. Okay, get out there and confer and commune. Okay, with nature, confer and commune with yourself. All right. And not allow yourself to be disconnected from it all the time. Okay. Or disconnected from yourself. Therefore, you're being disconnected from you. Okay. Perhaps it is like the difference between hearing only musical sounds and recognizing a song. Okay, moving on. Now, the Tao Te Ching presents several powerful images where the Tao seems most active and visible. There are 5 here. When you contemplate them, it helps you to experience the Tao. By taking some of the qualities of these images, we begin to live in harmony with the Tao. Remember, the Tao is the way. All things come from the Tao. Okay. All things are manifestations of the Tao. Okay. All things originate from the Tao, the way, this power, the way nature moves, the way things move. Okay. We begin to live in harmony with the Tao that inhabits them. Here are some of the several common images, okay, wherein we see the Tao most active and most visible. Water. Water is one. Why? Water is gentle. Water is ordinary. Okay. It is lowly, yet it is strong and necessary. Water flows around every obstacle. Chapter 8 of the Tao Te Ching praises it. The highest good is like water. It assists all things and does not compete with them. Again, it just flows around. Okay. Takes on the form of whatever you put it in. Okay, or like they say, water seeks its own level. It is gentle. Nothing great special about it. It's ordinary. Okay, it is lowly. It's lowly. yet it is strong. It can destroy. Okay. Too much water is destructive. It will destroy. It will kill. Okay. It is necessary. The second image is a woman. The female is sensitive, receptive. This female receives. Okay. Yet the female is effective and the female is powerful. Okay. Female is receptive. We know that the woman receives, and within the woman grows life, therefore making the woman or the female effective, and most definitely making the woman powerful. Okay. Nourishes life, brings forth life. Okay. Within her, life is formed, created, made whole, and brought forth into this realm, making her powerful. The third here is child. The child is full of energy, wonder, and naturalness. Okay, and we know that about children. Okay, sometimes we have to, you maybe tame all of that energy and wonder and naturalness. Children naturally do some this is nasty things. Ew, that's nasty. Little kids, okay? And you have to teach them, no, that's we don't want to do that. Okay, we teach them, all right? This is how they learn. They learn through their naturalness. Okay, through their some kind of bug was on me. They learn through their curiosity. Okay. The fourth image here is valley. The valley is yin and it is mystery. Okay, what's down in there? It's the mystery of it. And we talked about the yin and yang. Okay. And the last one is darkness. Darkness can be safe, full of silence and possibility. Okay. In the West, there's this thing about being afraid of the dark. Okay. Here, the darkness is where the Tao seems most active and visible. Okay. Darkness can be safe. Okay. We talk about, for example, meditating. Okay. One way they tell you to meditate is what's the first thing they say? Close your eyes. You're in the dark. Okay. To ground yourself or to listen to what's happening within, to connect with yourself. Okay. Herein lies the safety. Okay. Life. Remember, all things, okay, originate from the Tao. Life originates from the Tao. Okay. Where does life grow? Life is grown in the dark. You put a seed in the darkness, in the ground. Okay. Okay. And your potted pot, if you're gonna plant, plants the seed, you put it in the dark. Okay. I like to talk about trees. The roots are in the dark. Okay. Sure, we see some of them on the outside, but they're in the earth, and out sprouts this beautiful life. Life, human life. Where is that seed planted? That seed is planted in the dark. Okay. Life is created. Life is formed. Okay. In the dark. Okay. And here, out comes life. Okay. So it is full of silence, full of possibility. Life, the possibilities of life. You create something, that child, for example, there's so many possibilities of what that child will, you and another human being have created within you. There's so many thousands of possibilities. Okay, that what this child will look like, what this child will be like personality wise, so on and so forth, from the DNA and all of that kind of thing. Okay. All right. We don't appreciate the darkness for the light. You know how some people say you can't appreciate the light if you don't have the darkness. No, you don't appreciate the darkness for the light. You appreciate the darkness for it itself, for what it is. It is not to be feared. Okay. Can bad things happen in the dark? Yeah, they can happen in the light too. And they do. Okay. So it is not to be feared. And it is not to be appreciated for something else. It is to be appreciated and understood for what it is. Okay, there's power in the darkness. Okay, now these are just a few images, okay, that have been presented here, okay, that you can find in the Tao Te Ching. I'm hungry. I'm going to stop and continue on with Taoism. Maybe after I give myself something to eat. Because I want to do this whole thing today. Let me go eat. And we will get into another figure who enriched the work of Taoism, as well as the basic early teachings. That's all this series that I'm doing is about. Okay, the basic early teachings of all of these religions that I'm covering. All right, check out my website, kenyattasintuition.com, as well as for readings, so on and so forth. You can reach me at kenyattasintuition@yahoo.com if you want to email me or you have questions about anything. Okay, and I'm still working on that Patreon. You will see the link in the description below. All right, y'all be blessed. Peace.